Okay, how is everyone doing? Hello, hello, hello. Oh wow, both keyboards work. Maybe that's why it's weird. Okay, so once again, if you have some questions, you can try to ask them, but I would also like to try to run through some of my material, and I'm going to try to kill two birds with one stone by typing my material into my project in ChatGPT as well. Whoops. Let's get rid of that. Lillian, I know I'm sorry, but I'm busy. I'm busy these days. Recently, I'm very busy, Lillian. I'm so sorry, but I don't always have time. So, let's get started. So, my first concept. So, what am I doing today? I'm going to try to tell you a little bit, just a little, about each one of my concepts for language learning. I'm going to run through as many chapters of my book as I possibly can. We'll see how much I can get through, okay? So today is mostly going to be a lecture course, okay? A lecture course where I'm going to teach you about my methods and my ideas. So if you want to take notes, that's great. If you want to just listen, that's fine. This is going to be on YouTube as soon as I'm finished, so you can watch it again. Okay? But the first concept is what I call being a language warrior, or the way of the language warrior. And what is a warrior, everybody? What is a warrior? Hello, Belen. Hello, Lynn. Anybody want to answer what a warrior is? What is a warrior? Anybody? Hello? A fighter. That's right. Warrior. It's Warrior. A warrior. Okay? And why do I say that you have to be a language warrior? Because learning a language is a fight. It's a very difficult thing to do. And I think sometimes people they choose to learn a language without understanding how serious it is. And I feel like there are some things that you can't learn just a little bit. For example, fighting, right? If you want to learn how to fight, then you have to be serious about it, because if you're not, you're going to get hurt, right? You can't just fight a little bit. You have to learn how to be the best you can, or not do it at all, because you're going to get hurt. Learning a language is kind of like that. You can't really just dip your toes in the water a little bit. You have to be serious about it if you want to actually have some skill, right? If you take one class on boxing, that does not mean you can fight. Just like if you study a language just this much, that does not mean you know that language or you can use that language. So the first thing I want you to understand is that you have to be a language warrior. Okay, you have to be willing to fight You have to understand that this is a difficult thing that you're trying to do. All right? Let me type that in here. If you guys have questions about that, you can ask me questions about that. What is going on? This keyboard may not work. Let's switch to the other keyboard. There we go. Thank you, Fluffy. So, be a language warrior. Because learning a language is a battle. It is not an easy thing to do or anything to take lightly. All right, so that's the basic concept. All right, it's a simple idea. Be a language warrior. If you're not confident, warriors have to be confident, right? You can't be a timid warrior. You can't be a shy warrior. You have to be willing to fight. The same thing is true with language. If you're not willing to fight, then you shouldn't bother. Okay, you shouldn't bother. You need to understand that. Just like learning a martial art, right? If you learn karate or jiu-jitsu or something, you have to be willing to get up and actually fight. Just like when you learn a language, you have to be willing to get up and actually speak. And many of you are so shy. So that's why I want you to understand that this is like fighting. You need to have the courage and the bravery to be able to get up and fight. Okay? And you can't say, I'm too shy. All right? If you're a warrior, you're a fighter, okay? And your general tells you that you must go fight today, right? Can you say to the general, can you look at the general and say, General, I feel a little bit shy today. I don't think I can go fight. No. You cannot say I'm too shy when you're a fighter, right? So the same thing is true with language. You cannot say I'm too shy. When you learn a language, it's your duty to be brave. It's your job to be brave. That's part of language. Okay? So this is the analogy of the language warrior. 1, you have to take it seriously. 2, you can't be shy. All right? Let's see here. What else do we have in my chapter? I know. Did you know that 40% of native speakers 40% of native speakers are afraid to speak in public. 40% of native speakers are afraid to speak in public. It's actually called glossophobia. Glossophobia is a word that means fear of speaking in public or speaking to many people. Okay? And if 40% of native speakers are afraid to speak, then it doesn't have to do with being a native speaker, being good, right? Being good at language doesn't have to do with being native. If you're afraid, that's normal. Many people around the world are afraid in any language. In Spanish, 40% of people are afraid to speak in public. In Russian, 40% of people are afraid to speak in public. In Chinese, 40% of people are afraid to speak in public. So that means it's not about your grammar, it's not about your vocabulary, it's just about your confidence. Right? It's about your confidence. So that's, again, why you need to be like a warrior. Okay? So that's chapter 1. There's a lot more to it, but I'm just going through quickly to just give you a general idea about my concepts. All right? So the next chapter in my book is called The Purpose of Language. Guys, I'll be right back one moment. I want to check on something very quickly. Wait a minute. I'll be right back in just 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. So the purpose of learning a new language, that's where we left off. The purpose of learning a new language. Why do you learn language? Why do we learn languages at all? The purpose of language is not for perfection. The purpose of language is for communication and expression. Communication and expression. And you must remember, language is a living thing. Language is a living thing. It's always changing. It's growing. The rules that were true 50 years ago are not the same today. Many of those rules have changed. Okay? And sometimes we focus a little too much on the grammar and too much on this idea of perfection, and not enough on this idea of communication and expression. I want you to think about language more like music. What is the purpose of making music? Is the purpose of making music to make perfect music? Or is it to make beautiful music? Beautiful and perfect are not the same. Right? So, the same thing is true with language. All right? You shouldn't be focused on perfection. You should be focused on communication and expression. Can you express yourself, your feelings, your ideas, your concepts? Can you express that to someone in another language? Okay? One moment for me to get my notes together here. If you have questions, you can ask them, especially if they're about my concepts. Why do you think that it's more important to focus on communication and expression and not perfection? Why? Why do you think? Nobody has an idea? Nobody? So many of you guys, you talk about you want to speak like a native speaker, or you say I want to be more fluent, and you use all these ideas that basically mean you want to have perfect English. And I'm trying to tell you that that's the wrong goal. And that because you have the wrong goal, you are not making as much progress as you could. You're focused on, you're traveling up the mountain, but you're taking the wrong path. There is another path that's a better, easier path. Okay? If you focus on perfection, you'll never get to the top. Okay? Very few people ever get to the top when they focus on perfection. But if you focus on communication and expression, you will gain practical ability with the language. And practical ability is the one thing most of you really want. Okay? You talk about wanting to be fluent and wanting to sound like a native speaker, but what you really want is a practical ability to express yourself and communicate your ideas. That's what you want. Okay? Bella says, we want to speak English like a native speaker. But Bella, millions of native speakers speak English poorly. Do you understand that? That's why it's a bad idea to say I want to speak like a native speaker. There are 340 million American speakers of English, but I would say less than half of them speak well. Actually, I would say less than 25% of them, less than a quarter of them speak well. All right? So, when you say I want to speak like a native speaker, I could show you many native speakers who speak poorly. Do you want to sound like that? What you want is to be able to use the language to express yourself. Okay? That's what you want. All right? And yes, to connect with people and interact with each other. Correct. That's right. And Shiza Khan saying, I want to improve my fluency. And this is what I'm talking about. Shiza Khan, let me ask you a question. How many vocabulary words do you know? How many vocabulary words do you know? Do you have any idea? Probably not. Right? Most people don't really know how many words they really know. Right? So, Shaiza, do you need to know 20,221 vocabulary words or 20,222 vocabulary words to be fluent? Do you need to have 100% perfect grammar to be fluent, or can your grammar be a little bit messy sometimes? What about your accent and your pronunciation? If you have an accent, does that mean you're not fluent? Fluency is a stupid word that doesn't mean anything. It has no definition. So because it has no definition, it is a terrible goal because you can't achieve it. If you can't define it, you can't achieve it. And you cannot define fluency. So, what you want is an ability to feel something here and say it here. That's what you want. You are trying to define that as fluency. But fluency is a word that doesn't mean anything. I want you to forget that word. It doesn't mean anything. Okay? It's a mythical word, a mythical place that you can never get to. All right? Learning a language is like learning a musical instrument. You start one day and you finish on the day you die. There is no finishing to music, just like there is no finishing to language. So forget about the idea that you're going to get to a place where you're finished. You're never going to get there. Okay? That doesn't exist. All right? Am I making money off of this? No. Why? Why does everybody wonder about that? No, I'm not making money off of this. They don't pay me anything. I should be making money off of it, but I'm not. Okay, let's see. Okay. You think I could make money on here? I think that if I could make money on here, I would be by now. Michelle, I have been doing this for about 4 years, maybe more than that. I can't remember exactly. I've been on HelloTalk for 11 and a half years, but I've been streaming and doing voice rooms and stuff for about 4 years. And I have about 82,000 followers around the world. And this is my job, and I am one of the #1 recommended teachers on HelloTalk and recommended hosts. But HelloTalk has no real way for any host to make any real money. They have a system of tokens that you can give me, right? So you can send me coins and all that, but that equals nothing. It ends up, the amount of money that you would have to send me for it to be valuable to me is ridiculous. So I don't even pay attention to it, to be honest with you. I don't want to be rude, so I appreciate when people give me gifts, but you need to understand that those gifts, that's just a way for HelloTalk to make money, not for me to make money. Okay, so when you give me money, most of that is just HelloTalk. Okay, now, I don't begrudge them for trying to make money. I think that their methods for making money are not very useful. 1, not beneficial to the platform. 2, and certainly not conducive to learning. 3. So, I have a website, Michelle. I have my own website. I have my YouTube channel. I have a podcast. I am trying to make money on this. I'm working on it. And if you have any ideas or would like to help me in any way, shape, or form, please, I need all the help I can get. So, yeah, here, let me give you my YouTube and my website. Here is my website, AFIEC English. AFIEC. It means a friend in every corner. A friend in every corner English.com. AFIEC English.com. You can subscribe there, and there are many, many links on my page to study English by yourself. Okay, free resources to study English. And here is my YouTube channel, and my YouTube channel is going to get much better soon. I just learned how to use, or I'm learning how to use AI to help me edit my videos and to label my videos and to tell people which parts, I'm talking about what and all that. And so I'm going to have lots of new clips sometime soon. Clips, all the best moments from my videos will be clipped into small 3-minute, 4-minute, 7-minute clips, that you can watch and listen to just my concepts. Okay? Thank you, though, Michelle. I appreciate that. That's the feeling I want you to get. I want you to get the feeling that I'm professional and that I make money. I don't make money yet. I hope I will. You can donate money to me if you want to on my website. But currently, HelloTalk has no real way for a host to actually support themselves. Not yet. I am pressing them. I'm pushing them to create a subscription system like every other platform. So if you want to subscribe to my channel, then you can have all the time you want on my channel and no time limit, and that will support me. Maybe, $1 a month or $2 a month or something like that, that you can donate to me. I'm trying to get them to do that because that's what they need if they want real hosts. They need a way for the host to actually make money. And not by begging for gifts. That's such a terrible system. And I don't know how anyone can justify it. Anyway, so let's see here. Let me look at my notes very quickly. Yeah, there we go. All right. So then let's go to the next idea. And again, I'm just giving you a brief rundown of my ideas. The next idea is embarrassment. Let's talk about embarrassment. Embarrassment is your enemy. So, when you want to learn a language, if you are not easily embarrassed, then you will do better. If you are not an easily embarrassed person, then you will learn much faster than everyone else. If you are an easily embarrassed person, you're going to have trouble. You're going to have trouble because embarrassment prevents you from practicing. Embarrassment stops you from speaking when you should. Shyness is getting in your way. Your shyness is preventing you from learning. So you must stop. Okay? Shyness does not benefit anyone. It's not a positive quality. Sometimes we think shyness is some sort of a positive quality, like it means you're humble. No, shyness means you're afraid. It doesn't mean you're humble. It means you're afraid. Somehow, you don't have self-confidence, or you're afraid, or both. Okay, so shyness is your enemy. Embarrassment is your enemy. All right? If you are afraid to make mistakes, then you are afraid to make progress. Repeat that for me, everyone. If you are afraid to make mistakes, then you are afraid to make progress. Let me say that one last time with my God voice. Hold on. Okay. If you are afraid to make mistakes, then you are afraid to make progress. progress. All right? You have to remember that. Mistakes are part of progress. Think about a scientist. Think about a scientist. When a scientist does experiments, they have an idea, they have a theory. And to prove that theory, they must do experiments, right? And some of those experiments will be successful, and they will write it down and learn something from it, right? They'll confirm their idea. But sometimes those experiments are a failure. And when those experiments fail, they write it down and they learn from it. And they learn a lot more from their mistakes than they do from their successes. You learn more from your mistakes than you do from your successes. You learn more from your mistakes than you do from your successes. You learn more from your mistakes than you do from your successes. So make mistakes. Boldly go make mistakes. If you boldly go make mistakes, then you will boldly improve. Okay? If you boldly make mistakes, you will boldly improve. Okay? Don't let shyness control you. All right? All right, let's see. One moment. All right. Yes, you learn more from your mistakes than you do from your successes. All right? So focus on your mistakes and keep trying to make them so that you can improve them. Don't shy away from them. Embrace them, right? Remember that everything that embarrasses you is actually a lesson. Anything that embarrasses you is a lesson in life, waiting for you to learn it. That's what that's about, okay? All the bad feelings you have in life, if you think about them, they can teach you something about yourself. Okay? When you get angry, there's a reason why. And if you think about it, you can learn about why you become angry. If you get embarrassed, if you think about why you become embarrassed, you can learn about yourself and grow. All right? Lots of people, though, they never consider it. They never consider why they're embarrassed or why they're angry. Right? So the point is that embarrassment is actually not something to be afraid of. It's something to embrace, because it means that you're making mistakes boldly. Okay? Don't be afraid to be embarrassed. Be afraid to be shy. Right? Being shy is something that does not benefit you at all in language. Not really in life, but definitely not in language. Okay? Now, the next chapter. Okay, let's see. One moment. The next chapter is called The Best Way to Learn is Every Way to Learn. Many people come here and they ask me, what's the best way to learn English? And they want me to give them one answer. They want me to say, oh, well, if you just watch YouTube videos or TV shows and movies, or if you study a grammar book or whatever, if you take private lessons, they want me to say one thing. But that is a fallacy. A fallacy means a problem with your logic. Okay? Because the best way to learn something would not be one way. The best way to learn something would be every way. If you have two people, one person is going to study for the test just by watching a video, only a video, okay? And the other person is going to study for the test using videos and books and apps and teachers and friends and live streams and voice rooms and podcasts. Who's going to likely do better? The person who only used videos to study, or the person who used every possible way to study? So when you want to learn something, you need to remember that human beings, we like to be efficient. We try to do things efficiently. But in life, not everything is an act of efficiency. Not everything is an act of efficiency. There are some things that you should do not the most efficient way, but the most proficient way. Excuse me. Efficiency is trying to get it done as quickly as possible with the least amount of work. That's efficiency. Proficiency is trying to get it done the best way possible. So there are some people who are climbing the mountain and they just want to get to the top of the mountain, and that's it. They just try to climb and get to the top. Okay? But that doesn't mean that they know the mountain very well. That doesn't mean they're confident about the mountain. If they go another trail up the mountain, they don't know that trail. So they made it up the top of the mountain, but that's all they can do. That's efficiency. Proficiency means you know this trail up the mountain, you know that trail up the mountain, you know this other trail up the mountain, you know every trail up the mountain. You know the mountain, not the trail. So some of you, when you're learning by efficiency, and that means you're just learning one trail to get to the top. Some of you, if you really want to learn, you need to understand that you're trying to not get to the top of the mountain. No, that's not what you're trying to do. You're trying to know the mountain. Okay? The point of learning is not to get to the top. The point is to know it. All right? So that means you need to consider this to be a project that you should try to do the best way you can, and it's going to be forever. It's going to be something you work on every day. Okay? Learning English needs perseverance. To learn English, you do need perseverance. That's right. All right? So the best way to learn English is not one way. The best way to learn English is every way you can. Any book you can get it. Any video you can watch it. Any podcast you can listen to it. Okay? Now, not everybody is going to have a good idea. I have 70 different grammar books, but I like 2 or 3 of them. Okay, so I have 70 of them, but I only really like 2 or 3 of them. Right? So you will have a preference, but you still should look for as many sources as you can. All right? Hello, Ranella. So yes, the best way to learn English is every way to learn. One moment, please. Let me make my notes. Okay. What am I typing? I'm typing my notes. As I'm talking to you about my book, I'm making notes in ChatGPT for my project about my book. Okay? How long should you spend learning a new language every day? You know the answer to that question, Betty. The answer is always you should spend as much time as you possibly can. But the problem that you have is you're trying to think about it in hours. Don't think about learning in hours. Think about learning in lifestyle. Lifestyle. Learning should be a lifestyle when you're an adult. You can't learn the way you did when you were a child. When you were a kid, you could learn 1 hour or 2 hours of study like that. When you're an adult, you need to learn how to make learning part of your daily life. So when you have 5 minutes that you can learn, learn. When you have 20 minutes when you can learn, learn. When you can make your daily trip to the market a learning experience, learn. When you can watch TV and turn it into a learning experience, learn. So the point is adults are busy. We don't have time to learn the way we did when we were kids. Most of us don't have time to do that. But you can still learn. You just have to turn it into a part of your daily life. So you have to make brushing your teeth a learning experience some way. All right? It has to be, you have to use creativity to make learning part of your lifestyle. Okay? All right. That's the next part. Okay? Now, the next part of my book, the next chapter of my book, it's called Build Your Mountain of Learning. Build your mountain of learning. Build your mountain of learning. What does this mean? What this means is when most people, when they study something, they think about studying it from the beginning until the end. What I mean is, you buy book one, the beginning book, and you go through book one and you finish book one. Then you buy book two and you get book two and you finish book two. Then you get the third level book and you finish that book. So you're going through each part by itself. So it's kind of like you are climbing a mountain. I always talk about mountains, right? You are climbing a mountain, but instead of looking at the map shows you everything. The map shows you the entire trail all the way up the mountain. You are looking down at your feet. You're looking down at your feet as you walk. Okay? Here's what I mean. If you want to truly learn something, sometimes you need to know exactly how big this thing is that you're trying to learn. Right? You say you want to learn how to speak English, but you don't really know how big that mountain is. And if you only buy book one, you only see the first part of the trail. You don't see the whole mountain, you only see that little part of the trail. Okay? So you really can't understand how big is this mountain. If you go mountain climbing, it's kind of important for you to know how big the mountain is. Right? Okay? When you go climbing, in the mountains, nobody goes climbing in the mountains without knowing how big the mountain is. That would be very irresponsible. Okay, you have to know how dangerous it is. You have to know what you need to prepare. You need to know how seriously you need to take it. You need to know how long it's going to take, right? So instead of buying book one and then finishing book one, and buying book two and finishing book two, and then buying book three and finishing book three, I want you to get all of the books at the same time. I want you to have all of the levels. I want you to have an easy book, and I want you to have a really difficult one. I want you to have everything that you can have. Do you have books about reading comprehension? Do you have books about grammar? Do you have books about accent? Do you have videos about vocabulary? Do you have apps about vocabulary? Do you have whatever? The point is, when I learned to play the drums, instead of buying book one and then book two and then book three, I decided to do some research, and I found out what the 30 or 40 best books were that every famous musician used. What were the famous books? What were the best books? And then I bought all of them. Yeah, it was a lot of money. I had to save money to get it. For me, that was a lot of money at the time, okay? So I had about 35 or 40 books stacked up near my drums. That was my mountain of learning. Now I can see how much I need to do. I need to finish that stack of books to feel like I'm a good drummer. You need to finish that stack of books to feel like you're truly good at English. This is what I call building your mountain of learning. Get all the materials you can and put them in front of you so that you can see how difficult it is. Mo says, but you need to concentrate on specific learning specific resources at a specific time. Yes, you do. You do. After you have your mountain of learning, then you need to divide it into time to properly study and make progress. Right? I didn't say get the book and then do anything. Get the books and do anything. No. Yes, of course. After you see your mountain of learning, then you must make your way up the trail in a proper way. So you have to go through the material in a proper way. All right? But I think it's more valuable if you're serious about learning something, find out how serious it is. Get as many materials as you can so that you can truly see how difficult it's going to be. Okay? So that's what Build My Mountain of Learning means. Let me just make a few notes. Okay, let's see. There we go. All right. That's good enough. Okay. I might be losing some of you right now, but follow along. Follow along. Okay, so after Build Your Mountain of Learning, my next chapter is called The Learning Comfortability Connection. The Learning and Comfortability Connection. What do you guys think that means? Does anyone have any idea what that means? What do you think is the connection between learning and comfortability? What's the connection between learning and comfortability? Come on. Help me out here. Don't make me feel like I'm talking to myself. To feel confident when you learn. Yeah, that's... The idea is that basically everything new is uncomfortable. That's the nature of life. New things are uncomfortable. It takes time for you to become comfortable with them. Right? But it's important to understand the connection. When you swim, when you first learn how to swim, you jump in the water and you're uncomfortable. How do you get comfortable? How do you get comfortable? You swim more. When you ride a bike for the first time, you're uncomfortable. How do you get comfortable? You ride the bike more. So, how many of you feel like you are not comfortable? How many feel that you're not comfortable with English? If you don't feel you're comfortable with English, then what do you need to do? You need to do it more. Yeah, it's that basic and that simple, but you need to understand that's the way it works, right? If you are not comfortable, it means you have not done it enough. If you are not comfortable, it means you have not done it enough. Okay? Everybody who goes on stage is uncomfortable. The first time a musician gets on stage to perform, they're uncomfortable. They're nervous. We call it stage fright. Stage fright. But what do they do? What does a musician do to get over their stage fright? They have to do it again and again and again. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you become. The learning and comfortability connection is a really important connection to understand. All right? Let's see. Let me check my notes. Yeah, I really need to just go through this with ChatGPT. Okay, so that's the next part. Let me just make some notes here in my ChatGPT. Okay. I often feel tired and dizzy when I speak English for a long time. Does that mean I need to talk more often? You feel tired and dizzy when you speak English for a long time. No. I think... Let me think about my answer for a moment. Catherine, learning a new language is kind of like learning a different kind of music. For example, many musicians play rock music, right? That's one style of music. But just because you can play rock music does not mean you can play jazz music. Jazz music and rock music are very different. So, if a drummer wanted to learn how to play jazz drumming instead of rock drumming, they would have to practice, and in the beginning it will feel uncomfortable, and because it's uncomfortable, you have to concentrate more. And because you have to concentrate more, it makes you more tired. Okay? So, I would suggest two things. One, yes, in time, over time, you will become more relaxed and it will feel less draining the more you do it, right? But Mostafa has a good, that's the second part, was what I was going to say is what Mostafa said here, which is the more fun you can make it, the less draining it will be. The more creative you can make it, the less draining it will be. Learning is always going to be draining. It's difficult. Learning is a challenge to yourself, to your abilities, to your knowledge, to your mind. Okay? It's supposed to be draining. But the more fun you can make it, the more the less draining it will be. Okay? Fun is like the fuel for energy, right? Like it's fuel. If you have fun, it propels itself. It gives you motivation to want to do more. Okay? All right, let's see. I don't think I'm going to be able to get through much more. Let me just do a couple more topics here. I've been here for about 1 hour. I'm going to do a couple more. The next question that many people ask me is grammar really important? Many people ask me, is grammar really important? Let me just make a couple notes here. Okay, so is grammar really important when you're learning any language, especially English? Yes and no. Okay, the answer is yes and no. Sometimes grammar is important, sometimes grammar is not important. It depends on where you are. Okay? And again, I want to use some analogies in music, right? If I'm performing music in college for a test, then if I make mistakes, it's a problem because I'm on a test. It's in an academic environment where I must perform well. I have to follow the rules, right? But if I'm just playing music with my friends, do I need to worry about that? No. It's the same thing with language. If you are in school, grammar is important. If you are taking a test like the IELTS test or the TOEFL test or the Gaokao, grammar is important. If you are at work and your job uses English, probably it's important to have good grammar. Okay? So if you're at work, if you're at school, and if you are taking a test, grammar is important. If you are not doing those things, then grammar is not that important. Okay, grammar is just suggestions of how to communicate better. All right? They're suggestions of how to communicate better. I call them suggestions because guess what? They change over time. Okay? Rules are things that generally don't change, but suggestions do, right? So what's good today might not be good tomorrow. So that's what you have to think about with grammar too. Grammar does change over time, all right? So I like to tell people that grammar is kind of like the table in your kitchen. Do you guys have a table in your kitchen that you eat at? Do you eat at a table in your kitchen? Everybody? You don't eat at a table in your kitchen? No? Okay, sometimes, right? Okay, so wherever you eat, you have a table for eating somewhere, right? You have a table and you eat there, right? Who are all these people who don't eat at a table? What's wrong with you? Eat at the table. Now, this table you have, you clean it every day, right? You clean that table every day, don't you? This is like grammar. Grammar is the table that needs to be cleaned every day. Grammar is the table that needs to be cleaned every day. It's the thing that you're never going to be finished. You're never going to be good enough. You're never going to be perfect. You just keep cleaning it. You just keep cleaning it, okay? You have to clean the table every day because it's never really clean. You have to work on your grammar every day because it's never really perfect. Okay? So, grammar is not that important, but it is important in some situations. Okay? And there is another point. There is another point about grammar. Some of you're so worried about grammar that when you worry about grammar, now you're too nervous to speak. So, let me ask you a question. Which one is the bigger problem? You have two problems. One problem is that you speak, but you make mistakes. The other problem is you don't speak because you're afraid to make mistakes. Which one is the bigger problem? Speaking and making mistakes, or not speaking because you're too afraid to make mistakes? Not speaking is the bigger problem. That's right. If you're afraid to speak because of grammar, then you will not practice. So this is the other reason why I want you to understand that grammar is not that important. Because if you think it's that important, if you focus on grammar too much, if you worry about grammar too much, then your worry becomes the bigger problem. It's not your grammar that's the problem. The problem is that you're worried. Okay? So if you worry too much, that's going to make it too hard for you to speak. All right? If you're not making mistakes, then you're not making progress. Okay? If you're not making mistakes, you're not making progress. Okay? Let me make some notes here. Okay. Let's see. Hello, Tomas. How are you? Not making... the worst problem is not speaking and making mistakes in the mind? That's not a problem at all. Mistakes in the mind... that's the standard way. Minds are full of mistakes. Fabiana says, in the past I used to get embarrassed while making mistakes because I realized that I made them. In my head I was so good, but when I came out of my mouth I was terrible. Now I know that I can go back and correct it without feeling embarrassed. That's right. Yeah, good. Don't clean the table for at least half a year to see how thick the dust is? Ew. No thank you, Jason. Clean your table. Okay? Without grammar, you need more exposure to the language. Somewhat, yes. Somewhat. But again, Sammy, I think that you need to remember that grammar is not language. Grammar is only a part of language. Okay? And it's a flexible part. Do you know how much the language has changed over time? English Have you ever heard Shakespeare? That's English too. Why don't we sound like Shakespeare anymore? Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? Wherefore thou thinkest the way thou dost? Why don't we speak that way anymore? We don't speak that way anymore because grammar is a part of language, and language is a living thing. Language changes over time. Okay? So that's why you should worry about grammar, but you should remember that it's a flexible, living thing that changes over time. Okay? All right. Let's see. All right, I think I have time to talk about one or two more concepts. Let me just do one or two more. This is one, the next one is one I've already kind of talked about a little bit, but let's say it again. The next chapter. So, mistakes. Mistakes are good. Mistakes are not bad. Mistakes are an opportunity to learn. Okay? Nobody learns grammar rules when they first learn their mother tongue. That's correct. Yeah, babies don't learn grammar, right? Babies communicate, but babies don't care about grammar because babies don't know grammar, right? Me want ice cream. The baby doesn't care if it's right or wrong. The baby wants the ice cream. That's all. If it knows it can say something that will get the communication to happen, that's all it cares about. If it can communicate, that's all babies care about. They don't care about right or wrong. They care about understand or don't understand. All right? That's what you need to remember. The most important part of language is understand or not understand. Not perfect and not perfect, right? Or perfect and wrong. Okay? For communicating, we should learn more words and phrases. Well, of course. Of course, Helena, that's part of your vocabulary. You need vocabulary to speak. Okay? Hossein says, without grammar, it's harder to learn. Not necessarily. There are many things about grammar that make it more difficult to learn. Some of the explanations about English grammar are terrible. Right? So, and there are some things that are easier to learn just through experience. You'll pick up what it means just by using it through time, not by learning the rule. Okay? And again, I'm not telling you not to learn grammar. I'm not telling you not to learn grammar. I'm telling you, don't make grammar the most important thing in your language learning process. Grammar is only one part, and grammar might be causing more problems for you than helping. Okay? It might be getting in the way of your communication. Okay? Because you worry about it too much. Okay? All right, I have time for one more concept that I'm going to talk about here very quickly. Okay, the next chapter is called Strengths versus Weaknesses. Strengths versus weaknesses. This one is an important one for anyone who's learning anything. Okay? Most students, when they are learning anything, they focus on their strengths. What is a strength? What is a strength in learning? What is a strength in learning? Strength in learning means, what are you good at? What are you good at in learning, right? Are you good at grammar? Are you good at vocabulary? Are you good at pronunciation? Are you good at speaking? Are you good at writing? Are you good at reading? Those are your strengths. Okay, something that you are strong at, strong in doing. Those are your strengths. What are your weaknesses? Your weaknesses are the things that you're not good at. Okay, the things that you can't do well. Why is this important? This is important because 90% of students, when they are learning, they focus on their strengths the entire time. Because when you do something that you can do, you feel good. When you do something that you're able to do, it makes you feel good. So you do it more. But when you try to do things that are difficult for you, it makes you feel bad. So you shy away from them. Right? You're afraid of the things that are difficult. Right? But it seems like a basic concept. This seems like a very common, obvious thing. But it's not. If you want to be good at something, you cannot focus on your strengths. Okay? If you focus on the things that you're already good at, you're not going to get better. You have to focus on the things that you are not good at if you want to get better. Okay? This is a very basic and important concept in learning. Don't focus on your strengths. Focus on your weaknesses. Okay? That's how you improve. By focusing on your weaknesses. All right? You're welcome, Helena. That's my job. That's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm hoping my book will do that for many people. It will inspire you and give you some new ways of thinking about learning English and learning language and learning in general. Okay? Dion Natalia says, how to improve vocabulary. If grammar is only a small part of the language, vocabularies are a large part of language. Yeah, so Diane, there are 8 parts of language. Okay, that's another chapter in my book later, but I'll tell you what they are. The 8 parts of language are reading, writing, listening, speaking, thinking, grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. I'll say those again. Reading, writing, listening, speaking. Everybody knows those. Thinking A very, very important part of language is thinking in that language. Grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. All 8 are important. You need to be proficient in all 8 of those areas to speak a language well. Okay? But yes, vocabulary is an important part. I won't say it's more important or less important. They're all important. Just like your right hand and your left hand are both important. You know, if I ask you which hand do you want to lose, nobody wants to lose a hand. Right? So, Wei Chen says grammar is not useful. Grammar is useful, but it's like this. When you learn how to drive, there are many rules. But when you learn how to drive, do you carry the book with you and look at the book while you're driving to make sure you do everything according to the book? No! When you drive the car, you drive. And there are some times when you need to improvise, that maybe you can't follow the rules, or you need to do something different. Right? Okay? What if that road is blocked, but it says only one way? Well, you have to turn around. You have no choice. You have to change the rule or break the rule. Okay? So even road rules are just suggestions of safe driving. But we still do break those rules often. How many people speed when they're driving? Lots of people speed when they're driving. Okay? All right. Let's see. So, anyway, I need to get going. I've been here for about an hour and a half, so I need to go. I'm going to finish working on my book. You can go to my website. Go to my website if you want to subscribe to my website. You can go to my YouTube channel if you want more videos with more tips. Go to my YouTube channel. Okay? But my Chinese not study grammar. 这是因为中文的文法就是非常简单的，非常简单。Okay? 英文的文法就是比较困难。非常比较困难，我觉得。Okay? Yeah, Chinese grammar is much simpler than English grammar. Okay? Here is my YouTube channel right here. Right there, okay? Oh, and look, we've got Flavia over there, and Kiomar and Lino. Lino, good to see you. Or Lena, sorry. Long time no see. And Andre, hello, Andre. And can I tell you about reported speech? Reported speech, I'll answer that question very quickly. It's very simple. It's like you are a reporter. You're telling someone what happened, like a reporter. That is reported speech. Okay? What I think you should do for that question is you should ask ChatGPT to explain reported speech to you and give you some exercises to practice it. Okay? All right, I need to go. I will see you guys next time. All right? Thank you guys for watching. Have a good day, have a good morning, have a good afternoon, have a good evening.